All right. Hey everyone. We are now
Hello.
live. We're now live.
We are indeed. At least I hope we are.
Um
Or
yes, we are.
most of us are fired.
You got into my head. What
We're
the heck?
fired.
You know what? You know what?
I
You know what I'm
psyched him out. I psyched him out.
For that reason, I'm
did it.
walking off stream.
Yeah, walk out of the closet. We'll accept you. I hope he doesn't hear that later on. That'd be unfortunate, really. Anyways, how's everyone doing? Crickets? It's not like I was expecting a response. But it's always good to ask. Always good to be polite. And he's back. You can't see it, but I can. I'm all-knowing. Taking his sweet time.
I feel like it's customary for me to walk off stream every time I actually stream.
Yeah, walk out of the closet and then get back in. He can never make up his mind.
Okay. All right. I hope you didn't
He's got no
badmouth me.
response for that one. Because he knows it's true.
What? That I'm literally walking in and out of the closet. Yes. Hey, that was an astute observation by you. That I was literally.
You're pretty deep in there too.
What are you trying to say? Why don't you? You know
What?
Why don't you say it to my face?
What are you trying to say? I'm in an office, sir. I think I'm doing fine. You're the one who just resides in the closet for no reason. You're the side one here, not me.
I'm getting gaslit right now, guys, and this is not fun. This is not fun at all. I'm just gonna. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be the literally. Hear me out. Bigger man, and not address your accusations.
I bet the other guys really like that.
You know what? It's
The
fine.
look of horror so
On my face, yes.
actually.
Um,
Yeah, I'm actually really. You've known me for nearly half a decade. Now.
And first of all, when I say it like that, I sound so freaking
You're
old.
still surprised by it.
No, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that I find you funny. Like I was thinking about that literally before we started streaming. I was like, dude, it's been I haven't been in the same location with you since last month. Okay, and it's weird I still find you funny. Okay, so either my sense of humor is just basically not growing, or you just. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it.
Can never give a compliment.
Never. I'm never giving you a compliment. People that are, watching our stream are gonna notice something new, huh? We have a nice new background that fits the theme.
Yeah.
And also we have a nice new background music.
Royalty free.
Is it though? Yes. It's royalty free.
It better be, because we're in trouble.
Yeah. All right. So what do you want to talk about this week? I guess I should ask me this question.
Don't tell me what to do.
What do you want to talk about?
You know my dad, okay? He went out for milk, and he's coming back.
You want to know why I walk off stream?
He's gonna bring a lot of milk. He's gonna bring a lot of it.
Hey bud.
Like, believe you me, there's gonna be so much milk.
Hey bud.
He didn't leave us.
Hey bud. Do you want to know why I walk off stream every week?
Why?
To prove to you that, unlike your dad, I always come back. Are those tears? It's okay.
No,
I'm here for you.
it's raining
In your
in my
office.
eyeballs.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm
It's
just gonna
raining.
let this sit in the air as you cry while I sip on my water.
At least it isn't raining men like it is in your closet.
Raining Men.
Yeah.
Um.
Literally the most bizarre song on the planet. Just bizarre. If you just sit there and think about it for a minute.
I don't want to think about Raining Men for a minute. Forever, actually.
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
All right.
Especially when mom sings it. It's very awkward.
I don't know the song you're referring to, and I'm assuming it's a bit risque.
Well, it's literally the lyrics are, "It's raining men, hallelujah, hallelujah, it's raining men."
It's just
I'm like, I cannot relate.
it's just
I cannot relate.
it's a nice gospel song.
No,
Does
it's not.
it save people's souls? Like people listen to the song, do they go to heaven after listening to it?
Depends on how good the guys are, I guess.
Oh my god. Oh.
Well, it's not the only
disgusting.
like '80s song that's just like I sing in this song, but it's really freaking awkward to do so. Like another one was "Cherry Pie,"
I don't know the
and
song.
the lyrics are like, "She's my cherry pie," and it's like that's not great for kids to listen to.
Why not?
It's a little awkward hearing "Cherry Pie," my guy. Are you not getting this? Are you legitimately not getting this?
I'm not. I guess enlighten me.
It's talking about Shreks, my guy.
What Shreks?
Talking about Shreksy.
Like when Shrek has multiple siblings? Like there are multiple of Shreks? If for those that are actually watching our PNG stream, he just
Don't say it on YouTube. They're serious. We know this.
now our listeners are gonna be like, what did he just do? Why was just like dead silence, okay?
Dead silence.
Dead silence.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm like a fainting goat, just Wah!
Okay, enough with the physical humor. Okay, people want you to use your words here. Okay, we use words on this channel.
I got a degree literally in using words.
All right. So, what do you want to talk about this week, Mr. Count?
You brought up the topic. You
Okay.
get to introduce it.
Okay. So, well, I've been thinking about this a lot.
Fine, let's do the charade. Hey, Sanj, what are we talking about this week?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I've been thinking about recently. So I got a couple new books. I got Zizek wrote a book on Robespierre. I just thought it was interesting. I bought it, and I got
What was that Slavoj Žižek?
Yep, Slavoj Zizek. He wrote a book. I think it was
GUI again, mostly for the viewers.
right. But he's a philosopher. Where's he from? Is he
Yugoslavia from somewhere.
Right.
I think he's a Croat, I think, or a Slovak.
Yeah,
Can't remember.
I can't remember either, but he has a strong accent.
Yugoslavia, Balkans.
Yeah,
you know.
Balkan region. Yeah, but he has a strong accent. And
And
a lisp.
and a speech impediment, so
Right.
it's not fun.
Not fun, but also very memorable when he says things that you actually understand. So, anyway, that was kind of a slight dig, but I didn't mean as a dig. I actually truly mean like he's an interesting character. Anyway, so I went to the thrift store and I saw a book by him, pretty much untouched. It's basically called Robespierre, Virtue and Terror. Anyway, so I was thinking, like, there's this common trope in it's just common, right? Called Quake books. These are books that you read early on that pretty much change your whole worldview, right? So you have certain books, be that like the Bible, which right now Bible keeps telling, read the Bible to your children. They keep emphasizing read the Bible to them when they're younger, because when they're younger, they have like their worldviews can actually be shaped by the book they're reading. And also, and this also goes beyond just reading the Bible. You also Harry Potter shaped the generation. I'm pretty sure one of those people that were shaped by Harry Potter. Basically, when you're younger, you have like any book you read just seems so grand because you're encountering ideas for the first time, and it's literally shaping your perspective. So I was like, okay, that's a fact. I know that for a fact in my life, right? And so I was like, okay, what other domains does this apply to, right? Because fundamentally, if you look at life as almost as a task or a challenge to add on to your worldview or begin to see the world in a more complex and interesting way, it means that other things are like that. So there's advice that can change your worldview. There are people that can change your worldview. And so I was like, oh, we run an anime channel, right?
Yep.
Has there been an anime?
Yes.
Just run is a strong word, but we try to run an anime channel.
It's off the rails, but it's still running.
Still running. Sure. And so, like, what anime have you watched throughout your whole lifespan that should change your worldview? And I would like to actually know. I want to get a brief history first of how you got into anime, and like the first shows you gotta watch, and then I guess take me into your arms and just lead me down this road as you tell me this story of your anime life, so to speak.
Okay. I'm not gonna comment on "take me into your arms" part, but
you just did.
How did I start? I just did. I suppose it's self-fulfilling prophecy there. You're kind of fat though, so I can't really pick you.
I weigh 186 pounds. Okay.
You're fat.
Not fat.
How did I start? So, I was not a very intelligent child. So I would watch.
That sentence? You were a not very unintelligent child.
Intelligent.
You were a not very intelligent child.
Yes.
Are you saying you were an unintelligent child? Why do you have
yes,
to make the words literally, dude? Simple English, okay? For people like me, okay, that didn't go to school for education. Went there for money, but that's a different conversation.
It has to go for the throat. Anyways, I was not that intelligent of a child.
Okay.
Wow, that was a frog in my throat. And so I didn't realize that shows like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Digimon and all that stuff came from Japan. So I didn't get that at all. That went right over my head. And so I didn't realize I was watching anime as a kid until I was in high school. Because I was like super into Pokemon and stuff like that when I was a little kid. I loved it. And but I guess around middle school or high school, I got the impression that anime was for weirdos.
Why? What gave you that impression?
Kind of the ecchi hentai-esque feel for a lot of anime,
Right. Okay.
It's the anime that gives it a bad impression, right?
Okay.
And it's the tropes that sometimes give it a bad impression, and I'm like, and that really put me off of it for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
But then there were 3 shows that kind of that broke the rule for me, other than Pokemon and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. How old were you at this time?
Death
High
Note,
school?
Middle school and high school. So I was probably 14, 15, 16. That's when I first started watching these shows. So the 3 shows that I watched that kind of was I'm like, okay, those are exceptions. Whereas Death Note, the first season of Attack on Titan, and then One Punch Man.
Okay. And why were they different? Is it because they didn't have that much ecchi stuff in them? Is that the only reason they were different?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, so I didn't really get One Punch Man, but I was like, okay, this is harmless enough. It's basically it's a satire of superheroes, right? Attack on Titan I thought was, awesome. I binged it, right? And then Death Note, I was like, holy crap, this got intense, right? But in my mind were exceptions to the rule. I think my uncle introduced them to me. But I was just like, okay. I didn't want to be axiomatic about it. I was just like, I'll watch some of them, or if there's any ones that are good, but I'm not gonna seek them out, right?
Okay.
Because I didn't want to be weirdo. But then I remember in college, I started seeing on Netflix more and more anime pop up. And I believe it was actually the first one I actively just watched was an anime called 7 Deadly Sins.
Which, talking about ecchi, man.
Yeah, no, I was I loved it actually. It was is it the most amazing thing I've...
You loved it because of the ecchi? Hentai senpai?
That was easily the weirdest part of it, but I was like, oh, a good fighting anime. This is fun. And so then I started kind of branching out a little bit, and then I just started watching it more and more and more. And that's how she went. Now I watch very little else other than anime, to be honest with you, because I'm just like, don't really care for anything else.
Interesting. So, so the first three that I really, I guess I wouldn't call it changed your mind, but kind of changed your mind on anime.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it more like, oh, these three are just something different than quote unquote anime?
More the latter.
Okay. So it was like you didn't really see them as anime. It's sort of almost more like
Basically,
cartoons.
yeah.
Like,
Not cartoons, but I was like, there's an old animated movie called Titan AE. It was a Don Bluth film, and it's not actually a very good movie, but I love it nonetheless. And it kind of had that feel for it. It was they were adult animated movies or shows or whatever that depicted violence, that depicted these fantastical worlds, and depicted them well. And I've always been attracted to animation for that reason, that it can depict things, in a sense, more believably than a green screen.
Interesting. Okay. So it's almost like those shows were more.
They awakened me to the possibilities, effectively, right?
I see. Okay, that makes sense. So okay, I guess so. If you hadn't watched those shows, if you hadn't found those shows, do you think you watch anime today?
It's.
In other words, is your current obsession with an anime is that inevitable? I guess was that inevitable in hindsight?
I think maybe it was.
Okay, I guess say more about that.
For the reason, as I previously stated, I love animation.
Right.
Right, and I've never been shy about that. I think Cartoon Network and stuff like that, the American animation stuff that had its heyday probably in the 2000s and 2010s, just on action animation. So you had like Justice League, Young Justice, Ben 10, bunch of others that were just really cool kids shows, but were animated, and I thought those were the bomb, actually.
Interesting.
And then that died out, right? And I loved shows like Gravity Falls and other shows like that really were witty, well written, but also the animation was just fun to look at, right?
Okay, so it's kind of inevitable then.
I think so.
And
it's just it was getting over the cultural boundary, I think.
Okay. And so, given that you started pretty much in middle school, sounds like, I guess which...
I'd say more high school, but yeah.
High school, okay. Then, which anime... Okay, I guess, to kind of go back to the question, which anime do you think has had an impact in your life? Like, just give me some animes that had an impact in your life. And also, I mean your life, quote unquote, is like, oh my god, anime changed my life. Not that. I don't want to hear a sob story. More like,
yeah,
like, oh my god, it's an interesting, genuine perspective that I hadn't seen before because of this anime. Not necessarily. It could also be like, oh yeah, coincidentally, this anime talked about the same topic I was thinking about at that point in time. It could be something like that. But I just want to know what anime it was and what it was that in that anime that changed your perspective or helped you see the world more differently.
Okay, so this first one, and like by far the biggest one, and it's kind of cheating to a certain extent because it's Western, is Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Whoa! Oh my god, I didn't see that one coming. But go on.
Okay. It's funny because Avatar managed to depict Eastern philosophies the best way I've ever seen. In fact, and present it in a Western perspective.
Interesting.
And so for that, I will give them like all the applause they can get. But a couple of things always caught me about that, and I've ruminated on it as the years have gone by. And the first thing they actually, I don't know if they like exactly changed it, but they depicted the problem brilliantly, and that is the theme of revenge and the cycle of violence.
Okay.
So,
quick comment on that. I find it interesting that Avatar in a way affected your perspective or shaped your perspective on revenge, because you're for listeners, he's a history buff, nerd, dork, everything, every derogatory thing you can describe historians as, it's this guy. Okay, bum, lives under a bridge, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it's so interesting to me that for someone who's my perspective, well read on history and vengeance in history and all that stuff, that it show. I guess what specifically about, I guess if I cut you off, go on and tell me what specifically about this show, about the way vengeance was portrayed in this show, that affected your perspective. Like, what specifically was it?
Okay. So it was I guess three specific characters who did it. So there you have Avatar Aang,
right.
which I don't. Anyone who has a passing knowledge of animation knows Avatar: The Last Airbender. Right. So I won't give an introduction.
Is it Zuko or Zuko? Zuko, right?
Zuko.
Yeah, Zuko.
Yeah.
Are you gonna mention Zuko?
Yes.
Of course.
So Aang he's the last Airbender, right? As the title says. His people are genocided. They're gone. He's the last one. And worse yet for him, because he was frozen in ice, it was like it was yesterday. One day he leaves and his people are alive, and then the next day he goes back and they're all dead, right? And it's not like, oh, they mysteriously vanished. It's no, the bodies are everywhere, the bones, right? And that's his entire people, right? But okay, no, actually, I won't do this. But then you have, in contrast to a certain extent, is Katara, who is, Katara of the Water Tribe, right? Aang's main love interest and the woman he eventually marries.
Spoiler.
It's
like
10-year-old show. It's super old now. I grew up with it. Her mother was killed by Fire Nation in the raids on the Northern Water Tribe. I believe Northern, Southern, I think Northern, can't remember. And a very similar thing happened to the Northern Water Tribe as to what happened with the Air Nomads, right? They systemically took out all of their benders so that they would basically be militarily helpless. And in those raids, her mother was killed. And Katara never let that go. And there's an episode called The Southern Raiders. Oh, so it's Southern Water Tribe. Oofta. Where Zuko, now reformed, helps Katara go and hunt down the admiral who is in charge of those raids. And she confronts him, and he's now an old man and feeble and pathetic, right? And Katara can't bring herself to kill him.
Is that because of mercy? Is that more just because she's a good person, quote unquote?
Disgust. I can't do it. I can't lower myself to this, basically.
Okay.
And Aang mentions to her when he gets back with Zuko that, good, now that you can heal, you can let go of your anger, you can forgive him, you can move on, right? And she fires back at him, I will never forgive him. And so where the show does so well is it doesn't present either side as being right necessarily.
Right.
Or, well, I'll rephrase that in a second. But so, because we know that Aang lost his entire people,
right.
So he has every right to despise the Fire Nation, right? Yeah. And you also have Sokka, who is Katara's brother, who doesn't have the same level of animosity or desire for revenge, even though he's older. And so you just have Katara sitting with this desire for revenge and hatred, while Aang has moved on. And so, what the show leaves you with, and what this is done brilliantly, I think, especially for a kid's show, right, is that it doesn't pretend that, oh, she said, I forgive you, and just walked off in the sunset or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's heartrending. she lost her mother.
Right. She's left to grapple with literally the feelings that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have Aang, though, who lost his entire people. And so you're left with the fact that it's not good that Katara won't forgive and move on, because you can see that it's eating her up inside.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also understand that it's the most unsatisfying thing in the world to an extent. Because in the end, there is no justice for what happened.
Right.
Her mother will always be.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's so easy to fall into the cycle of revenge and violence.
Mm-hmm.
I guess as a historian, that caught me because I've read about blood feuds and wars and all that stuff throughout history. And the sheer depravity that man can commit on man, but you don't hear about forgiveness because it's hard.
Right.
And so that's what I suppose, I don't know,
Also,
gave me a new perspective.
Presumably, once forgiveness happens, the cycle ends. Therefore, it becomes fundamentally uninteresting.
But you have to do it.
Right.
Because so often we feel wronged, rightly so oftentimes, and we're like, look, you just have to move on.
Yeah.
You gotta let go.
Yeah. That's...
And it sucks, because you, rightly so, are sitting there going, he murdered my mother.
Yeah.
I want my revenge. I want my pound of flesh. But what will it solve?
Right.
But it just keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
Forever and ever. And that's the cycle of violence.
Interesting. So, and you were in high school then when you watched this?
Yes.
It's pretty
Well, no, middle school. Middle
profound.
school, high school.
Yeah, it's pretty profound, man. Like, yeah, that's way better than what I was gonna give up. But yeah, that's really good.
No, like, how do you want to do this? I have 2 or 3 others that I can mention.
I think you go on. Like, you're on a roll now. I'll try to comment here and there. We have about 20 minutes. We're good.
Okay, so I have the next one on the list. Connected to this one is Kaguya-sama Love is War.
Oh, dude. Are you gonna keep rubbing it in? I will watch it eventually. Okay, God, stop nagging me about it.
Okay, here's the deal for you, buddy.
Okay.
If I start watching AOT again, will you start watching Kaguya?
Deal.
Okay.
So, but by me, so you mean watch it again, which means continue where you're already at?
Yeah.
So,
I'll start watching it again. Yeah.
And then you catch up to.
Yeah.
And then we can actually talk about it on the show.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, I'm down. I'm deal. You can do that. Let me know when
although I just started watching MHA again today, so
yeah, dude, I was when I saw you texted me. You're like, MHA, the new season of MHA didn't have to go that hard. I was like, heck yeah, he's back on. We got him, boys. We got one back.
Well, I counted the episodes. I'm like, okay, it's almost done, so I can just binge, and that's what I started doing today. So
again, I think that I cannot. Like, you're such a patient guy. Like, I cannot do that. Like, it's either, again, all or nothing for me. I'm either going to, if I know it's coming out, I'm like, I gotta watch it. I mean, I haven't watched like the past 2, so.
I mean, I do it with some shows, but for that one, I know what I did last time, and I think I had to stay up like early, effectively doing homework because I watched it all day.
Oh my god!
So I'm like, I know I'm gonna hate the cliffhangers, and so I gotta just
wait it out.
I just gotta be patient and wait it out so I can just watch it all at once, basically.
Interesting.
Without being like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So, Kaguya-sama Love is War. Okay.
So there is in season 2, I believe it's episode 11. The story, it goes into the backstory of Ishigami, or Ishigami. Sorry. Sometimes the dubs and the subtitles will switch the naming convention. So sometimes I get so mixed up on which one's their first name and which one's their last name.
Which is why you gotta do
so I'll just call them. But it does the same with subs, my guy. It'll switch it around for you, and I'm like, don't do that. You're messing me up.
Sub is superior. Only sub, never dub.
I dub when I can, my guy.
If I just enter the war, I can actually get out of.
Yes, you just started a war.
Yeah.
Anyways, episode 11 goes into the backstory of Ishigami, who is one of the, I wouldn't say side characters of the show, but he's not the main focus, shall I say. He's one of the cast characters, basically. And he was kind of like I don't want to say mysterious figure, but he was kind of the comedy relief to a certain extent. And basically not someone to be taken too seriously. But then it goes into this, I don't want to say like terribly well, it is tragic. It is tragic backstory for him. Where I guess I'm gonna have to spoil a little bit for you, but what happens is when he was in middle school, a girl who was very, very kind to him and always talked to him, even though he was a loner, started dating a guy who was basically using her for Shreks. And
is that multiple Shreks? Multiple Shrek? Or you've brought the second time I brought that up, and I'm quite confused about what you mean by Shreks.
Okay. Anyways, so he finds out though. Please stop. You're making it worse.
Do you mean coitus? Do you mean coitus?
Yes, I mean that. Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know.
I thought you would get it. Oofta.
I'm sorry for not knowing your lingo. Okay, we haven't spoken together.
You're the bad guy here. You are the bad guy. All you.
So zero personal shame. Oh my god. So 0% responsibility.
Shame.
What is this, Game of Thrones?
No, we haven't beheaded you yet.
Oh. I guess I gotta wait for that. I guess that's the next chapter of my memoir, I guess, but
yeah. Well, next week, execution. Anyways.
So
the girl is being used. Yeah, but he finds out. Ishigami finds out that he's also two-timing her with another girl, and so he goes to the guy and says, "Stop it!
I'm gonna murder you."
Yeah, effectively. And the guy makes a lewd comment about the girl, and Ishigami snaps and just beats the living crap out of him. And then a bunch of people come into the room because they hear the violence going on, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Ishigami, how could you?" And everyone blame him. And the guy's like, he whispers in Ishigami's ear, "If you tell anyone, I'll leak the video to the whole school." And Ishigami's like, "Crap, I can't do anything." And so he gets suspended, and it's told, until you write an apology letter to this guy, you can't come back to school. And so for months, he doesn't come back to school, and he's just sitting there refusing to write it because he's like, if I do, he wins. And the whole episode, it's heart-rending in a real way because you're seeing him trying so hard to do the right thing, but also keep his pride.
Right.
Because he's like, I'm not going to apologize to this. I'm not going to do it. And I guess the thing that got reinforced in me was there is no justice.
Which, okay, I remember you texting me this, and you were like, it reignited my sense of justice. Now, whenever you bring that up, I'm tempted to more so ask. So, couple things I've noticed because I lived with you before. A couple things I know brings that up in you. One is anything that has to do with, a comment on your character, or an attack, quote unquote, on your character, to your family, or 3, a generalized almost societal gaslighting, right? So it seems like this is in the fourth category, or is it more of the first? Because I was going to ask you about I'm kind of working right now. I'm trying to code, but also you just said this conversation, so it was the whole thing. I guess say more about this. I guess what in what way did it not offend, but just in what way did it touch your sense of justice?
You can because we would all like to be Ishigami in that situation. Maybe not like immediately resort to violence. He woke up and chose violence.
Yeah.
But it was like, yeah, you would want to defend your friend.
Right.
Well, he has a crush on the girl, so obviously his crush or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You would want to do the right thing there. We all like to think we would do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But here he is trying to do the right thing, and then being called the abuser, the victim. He's called a stalker. And that even after he comes back to school, he is known as the creep in high school.
Mm-hmm.
No one likes him, especially the girls, right? So because they think he's a stalker, and it's the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get this real sense of this guy has been so wronged for doing the right thing. And I think that, I don't know what kind of, I don't know if it's like an attack on character type of justice or societal justice, but it's like, maybe I can see myself in him, and everybody can see themselves in him.
Really though,
It's a thing.
Okay, I think you can see yourself in him. I think it's actually more it's a road they can easily go down, because one, you are a loner. I hate to break this to you, but you are a loner. Two,
I'm a hermit. It's a difference.
Right.
Loners are alone. Hermits shun company.
Sure. Whatever you tell yourself to go to sleep at night there, bud, okay?
I sleep good alone.
I sleep good alone. Great English there, bud. But
oh, there was a pause there, thus signaling a period. I sleep good, period, alone.
Alright. Okay.
I got a degree in how to use words.
And it's really showing there, bud.
What did you get a degree in? How to make money? Ooh, look at me. I make money.
So you're the burn the rich kind of person. Is that what it is? Eat the rich, burn the rich. Okay.
Yummy. In my tummy.
I cannot believe you are almost 25. Like you're almost.
I'm 23. What the heck?
Isn't that almost 25? It's not. Anyway, for you, it's easy for you.
Fine. It's also almost 26. What's the difference? Okay.
25 is a lot more reasonable than 26. Anyway,
no, 24 is reasonable.
It's reasonable because I said it. Okay. Whenever I see something that you don't agree with, just go with it because I said it. Okay. So listen to me, bud. You're almost 25. Okay. Why? Because I said so. All right. So
like I said, almost 24.
Okay.
Let's move on. The audience that we don't have is going to become a whole lot smaller than we already have.
That got depressing. Okay, but
move on.
Final measure of thought. So it's easy for you to be, for you to see yourself going down that road. One, because you are extremely monogamous. I didn't mean to just call you out there, fun count. But
it's true.
You're extremely monogamous, which means like when you like a person, a lady, like she gets all your attention, right? And which by necessity means that every other lady doesn't matter to you. But in a very interesting way, you do care. Well, not interesting way. Plainly, you care about your not status, but more like your public image, your integrity. Oh, this is the guy. Fun count is the kind of guy who would do X. Fun guy is the kind of guy who would never do X. Like you want that kind of thing for yourself. But also, you're extremely freaking stubborn, right? And so when you know you're in the right, like there's no way you're gonna. So basically, I believe that this character not necessarily change your mind, as opposed to almost broaden what is already in you. It's like it broadened. It must give you more colors in your justice palette, so to speak. It's like okay, now maybe that was a gray, but now it's a grayish brown or something like that. That's my perspective on it.
It reinforces my personality as it already exists.
Right. It's like not that you would ever be in a situation like that because you choose your friends and people you talk to very carefully, so you never. So if you actually got a whiff of someone being such a scumbag, sleeping with you, they'll never be in your circle, so to speak. But if that ever happened, you would definitely be that guy, Like I don't know anyone else who'll be that guy but you. Like everything,
Yeah,
everything you
as you
described.
know from college, I am perfectly willing to make a fool of myself in class.
Exactly. Like everything you described is that guy. It is you. And so, and while you know you generalize, I guess you almost like existentially generalize by saying that we would all want to be insert name here. I don't think that's entirely the case. I think we would all want to be the bystander or the person, you know, because like, oh my god, imagine coming in and be like, why the frick are you beating up this guy such a pulp? And then the guy's like, I'm gonna like, anyway, to my mind it's like almost like that show gave you more of a made your emotional inclinations more complex in a way, and made you live a life that you wouldn't live, but you could have lived in I guess in the nearest possible universe or something.
Fair point.
I hope that was surprisingly deep. I hope that my mic was on because
yeah, I hope so too, because it's never being reproduced.
Yeah, exactly. Because I could, you know, me revisiting stuff. I can never do that. But yeah, that's very interesting. That's actually interesting perspective on it.
Well, I think that wraps up that one. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I guess what's the third one? Hit me with it. And also, if you don't have much time, we can continue this next week. I can go over mine next week or something, or we could just move on.
Okay. Wait, how much time do we have left?
We have 14 minutes.
14 minutes. How about you do one?
Okay. Well,
we can do a part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. Mine. So I guess you want to hear my anime background, or should I just breeze through? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I grew up in Nigeria for 16 years, right? And in Nigeria, there's not that much access to stuff. Well, it's when I lived there. So whenever I want to get a book, I'd have to either borrow from a friend or, you know, wait for the vendor to walk past my house or apartment with the books. I gotta chase him down, like, oh, can I get this book? Or my parents go to the market to get me a book. But we were also strapped in cash, so it was kind of like and it was a whole thing. And so when I became of age, my parents got me a phone. I was like, this, like, it just unlocked the world for me, right? Like I can read books online. I can do whatever I want to do online. That was a blessing and a curse. I don't want to get into that. But while I was in Nigeria, I actually stumbled upon Death Note as well, right? But first, before that, actually, my dad went to the store one time and he got a Blu-ray disc of Naruto, like season 4 or something like that. Like just a middle of the season, just Naruto, just bought it.
No clue what's happening.
No clue what's going on. Like no context, no background, nothing. He's like, here you go. Here's a cartoon. Watch it. And when I watched it, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I actually kind of liked that because it did in a weird way help me flex my creative muscles, because I was like, okay, I don't have context for this, so I'm gonna try to create a whole background story in my head. Like, oh my god, like, you know, how did he get? And I was very wrong. Like I could never be far off from the actual origins of you know, where I was. But it was a fun exercise to be able to make up you know, stuff in my head and stuff like that. And that got me really interested in, like, I'm like, okay, I want to know how did he? I want to know if I'm right. I want to know how he got you know his powers and all that stuff. And I want to know what this whole universe is about. Anyway, so I went and I tried to search up Naruto, but I didn't have enough money to buy data and all that stuff. And so I went to school, and there was this super rich girl who was weirdly enough interested in me, and she was into anime, and so she'd watch Naruto or something like that, and she'd come to school and then describe it all for me. I would just sit there with rapt attention, just staring into her eyes, like, oh my god, like, this is so cool. She could have lied to me. Like, she could just pretty much flat out just lied, like, and I would have believed it. Right? I would have had like a weird, like a third version of Naruto, the one I made up, hers, and like the actual Naruto in my head. And so I was like, I kind of got into it, but then I kind of dropped it because I was too cool for school, I guess. And then later on, I found One Piece, because I was also interested in drawing as well at that point in time. So like, okay, I want to draw, you know, more manga. So I'll go on YouTube and I'll search up Mark Crilly, shout out, and I'll just, you know, learn how to draw manga characters from him. And from there, I don't know what I ended up in watching. Ended up stumbling upon One Piece. Stumbled upon One Piece, and I didn't watch it actually. I read it. So I read it all. I read it all. I read it all the way through to the, I guess then episode 1000. No, I don't know. I read up. I got caught up then, like 2015 ish. I got caught up then, which is like now I'm like way behind. And then I was so interested. I was like obsessed with it. I would, whenever I get into anything, I really get into it. I was really obsessed with it, and I would.
Know, like 18, 19 episodes a day. Get into it.
It
gets freaky.
I think again to go back to a previous conversation. I think that's why I'm never actually. I never actually want to revisit stuff. It's because I almost like I burned out my fuse for that specific show. But anyway, and so I read One Piece, and then I came to the US and I stopped again because I was like, oh, I'm in the US, I can do whatever I want to do. And then I got into One Piece again, and then my brother came to the room one time. I was like, hey, look, you're skinny fat, you're a bum. All you're doing is sitting all day watching anime and eating.
Yeah, confirm.
Yeah, eating candy. And you're just becoming fat. You're not doing anything to better your life. You're just sitting here watching anime all day. And I was like, ouch, why did that hurt? Like, my feelings are hurt. Anyway, and then I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna turn my life around. I started hitting the gym hard, and I gave up anime. And I came to college, and I met a random guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine. So just kind of related to my mom.
He sounds amazing.
Oh, take it easy, dude. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about a friend of mine. I guess a family friend, kind of.
So he is indeed amazing. In all the senses of that word.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Cavs. And the only person that will get the joke is you. But, so I came across this guy. We kind of like, oh my god, you go to this school? I'm like, yeah, I go to this school too. Like, cool. Let's hang out. Stuff happened. We had a falling out, and then he moved colleges, and then but one thing that came out of that is I met this weirdo here, and we kind of hit it off, and then later on he
I don't even remember when we started hanging out. By the way, I know we met in class.
I remember vividly when we started hanging out. Yeah, but I don't want to get into that right now.
Describe that to me, then.
Because it's 8. Do you want me to do it? It's 8 minutes.
Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So we had a class together that we didn't hang out then, but we sat in the same table. And then I remember going to lunch with the family friend of mine that I mentioned earlier. And you were there, and it was like, oh, you want to just have lunch together? I'm like, cool, let's have lunch together. And then something happened, and he left, and it was just me and you. Maybe like the next time we went to have lunch, we had lunch together, something like that. Or he was there, and we had lunch together. Excuse me. And then from there, we just kind of like just kept hanging out, and it was kind of like more like I couldn't get rid of you because I'm so cool like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm popular. Everyone wants to be my friend and all that stuff. And so like I couldn't get rid of this nerd over here. And I remember you would. I don't know if you would hide the fact that you watched anime, but then from time.
Oh yeah, I hit it hard.
Yeah, from time to time,
I hit it hard.
From time to time, it would slip. I'm like. You know weirdly a lot about this specific show. You nerd. Like it was like you break character, and now I'd find out that you actually watch anime, and then slowly but surely you became more comfortable, and then we're like, oh,
neat emerge. Yeah. It's like slow, just.
It's like as
it's just Nani.
I just imagine you're in a cocoon, you being a shut-in, and then you just opening the door like. Is it okay? Oh,
is it gonna be pretty? No, go back in.
It's like your inner needs is coming out. Anyway, so you were like, you started, slowly like, oh yeah, hey, I watch anime or something like that, and then we got into a whole conversation about, you're interested in anime, and then I'm like, okay, well, this is the thing that I used to like. I can get back into it again. Let's bond, and so we bonded over that. Anyway, all that to say. One of the anime, so I've watched a lot of anime, and I'm probably just falling for recency bias here. But one of the shows that really struck me, and actually made my perspective a lot richer was Your Lie in April. Now I know everyone's gonna say this.
Ooh.
It's like, oh my god, like this is such a good, it made me cry or whatever. But truly, the show, because I'm a musician, right? I play the drums. I love listening to music. I'm right now into acid jazz. I didn't even know anything about acid jazz, but highly recommend. Like, I'm constantly like,
Is it like sound music?
You remember noise? Remember we had a professor that was actually playing noise music?
Oh, it was noise music.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was referencing.
Oh, okay. Well, we had a professor that was... Also, weirdly enough, I actually recommend Indian classical music. It's actually really good. It's long. It's very, very long. But anyway, so...
Okay.
So I was watching watching the show, and you know me, just binging it. Like I'm not even... I know, even though you were like, oh, watch one, alternate, pace yourself. I was like, I'm just gonna go head to, just head to the wall, just go, right? And it changed. It didn't change. It made my perspective on playing music richer, because if you think about music removed from everything else in the world, it's really, really hard to explain, right? So you can explain drugs, kind of. You can be like, okay, you take a thing, cause and effect, you see things. I think you see demons, by the way, but you see things happen to you. But then if you look at music, I remember a time in my life where I did not like music. I did not like comedy either, and so and then it almost like I kind of grew into someone who actually appreciated music, who actually sought out music. And so when I encountered that show, it's kind of like it's almost like it was a memoir, or was a memoir written by my old self who didn't like music because of whatever reason. And so I think I was having a conversation with my younger self. Although I play the drums and I'm not a violinist or pianist but the way they viewed music as almost like a fundamental part of who they were, made me realize, well, a couple of things. One, it's that music in itself is hard to explain and must be explained through consciousness, right? Not to get too deep, but it's like I can't explain music to you without describing what music does to you. And so it's like, if you remove the you from music, it's amorphous, right? So music is almost defined by its effect on people, right? So you can, because if you read quote unquote read music, it literally makes no sense to you. But then you give someone who's actually trained, they will produce, back tingling, hair follicle raising, pore opening music, or like you want to bawl your eyes out. And so anyway, so that was an interesting play on the on almost like a definition of what music is, and how interrelated that was with other people. And I like that a lot, because I was like, okay, I was just not smart, period. I was like, when I was a child, I was just not smart enough for music, period. Like no one can convince me like, oh, it was a taste thing or something. Like no one can convince me of that. I was just not smart enough for music, period. And so
I can definitely confirm this. Like your tastes change, they broaden, and they become more sophisticated as you grow older. Right. I like more music now as an adult than ever. Like, I'm a metalhead. I love specifically power metal. That's my favorite. But I listen to jazz and folk, country, all sorts of stuff. That I'm like, I like certain aspects of basically every genre.
Right. And in a way, your taste is becoming more sophisticated. Well, it is becoming more sophisticated, and which means it's becoming more discerning. Which is why I think one can't, I can't necessarily say for a fact that I don't like a specific piece of music. After watching that show, my default is I may not be smart enough yet to understand this piece of music, unless it's noise, which is by definition not music. It's not.
I will be honest with you. I listened to some. I had a coworker who listened to rap, like just constantly, right?
Mhm.
Cannot like. I like a little bit of Eminem because he's
Mhm.
actually skilled,
Mhm.
right? He's actually skilled with it.
Mhm.
I like a little bit of Drake. 99% of the rest of it, I'm like,
Yeah. So
don't get it, man.
yeah,
I don't get it.
agree. What I was getting at was you can like rap music. There's rap music you like. So it's not that you don't have the ability to understand. Like before, I did not have metal, for example. Before I knew you, I knew, well, quote unquote, knew that metal was a form of music, and I didn't even touch it. I just did not care about it at all. I knew nothing about it, right? And then you started playing some songs. I'm like, oh, check out this, the acoustic version of this song, or and it's still on that in that genre of metal. Now I'm like, okay, while it might not be my cup of tea, I'm actually smart enough to say, okay, that is good music, so to speak. So I'm not necessarily saying that, all music is good, therefore I'm just not smart enough. No, like I'm for sure not saying that. There are bad music, but what I mean is like my tastes have become more sophisticated in such a way that I can discern, so to speak, what is good music. And the only way to actually get that taste is to play it, is to listen to it, is to consume it a lot, right? And if you should go back to that show where it's like Arima, whatever, he can't move past where he was stuck unless he had to interact with the music. He had to play the music, he had to listen to the music, he had to sit through the feeling, so to speak. He had to let the music have an effect on him. And I really I guess that resonated with me. Resonated because music, so funny. That resonated with me a lot because I was like, okay, I can't, like, to become more sophisticated as a musician, I need to interact with the music. I need to interact with more, broad span of music. And just to, become more sophisticated. That was a really interesting show. I mean, obviously, it's like I didn't touch about the whole tragedy and like how sad it was, because it was extremely sad. It's a whole other thing I could go into there, but I kind of split it out into like other, I split into romance, slice of life, action, and talked about different things there. But that is one of the shows that I think they definitely changed my perspective, because I watched it. So yeah, and it's 7:02. Any closing remarks? Here?
This is fun. Let's do a part 2 next week because I still got shows to talk about.
Same. I have like 4 more to go through.
Yeah. Well, you can take like mostly next week then, because I kind of felt like I hogged it this week.
Oh no. I'm interested in your perspective. Like it's the conversation that I want to have. Basically, I don't say I don't care about the audience, because I'm actually interested in what your perspective on it, so to speak. So
fair enough.
Awesome. I am glad that this is getting better, slowly but surely, but it's getting much better.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
It may be a glacier, but it's still moving.
It is moving. All right. Thanks, people, for listening. We shall talk to you next week.